Hi everyone, today we're talking fall makeup trends. I picked 3 of my favorites and I've broken them down to make them super easy and really wearable. Also, you'll notice that this intro is different from the rest of the video. That's because I forgot to film an intro, so there's that. By the way, I'm Jeannie. I'm a pro makeup artist. I live in Los Angeles. I work with celebrities, beauty brands, and everyone in between. Welcome to my channel. So the first trend I want to talk about right now is probably one of my favorites, just because if you've seen any of my other tutorials, you know that I love accentuating this part of my face. I'm talking about the brows. What's hot right now for fall 2023 is a fat, laminated, polished brow, which I feel like should be a trend forever, or at least for the foreseeable future, in my humble opinion, because I just love a big fat brow, and I kind of always have. All right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to brush them up just to see where they kind of go naturally. This brow is the redheaded stepchild of the two. This is the one that tends to give me the most grief. This one tends to play a little bit nicer with everyone else in the sandbox, so to speak. I'm going to trim them a little bit, but I'm going to show you how I do it. I'm going to use a little of the NYX brow glue. This stuff is really great. It's not as strong as the Anastasia brow freeze, but I like to use this when I'm actually doing maintenance on my brows because it helps me place the brow without it being too stiff, and then I can trim and get the shape that I want. So usually where I like to trim is actually on the tail. I tend to leave everything here natural because I don't have a lot of overgrowth in the front of my brow. But as you can see, I'll brush it out on the tail. I'm gonna take my cuticle scissors, and you see how there's that straight line here. I'm gonna flip them over so they're flush to my skin. And then I'm just going to trim this part of the tail so it gives me that arch. And then take the spoolie. There we go. I don't know if you can see it. It's very subtle, but it did change the shape, and it kind of brought the brow down so I can create a little bit of that arch that isn't really there. Same thing on the other side. Just gonna kind of brush up. These hairs over here are definitely a little bit more stubborn. They tend to want to lay flat or even go down, and I have to really kind of coax them up to behave. And this just takes practice. This just takes you knowing your face and you learning what kind of shape of eyebrow you like as far as where you want to trim. And remember, it's hair. It grows back. If you're plucking it, that's a different story. That tends to sort of shorten the life of the hair that you're actually pulling, and it might not grow back. But with trimming, it always grows back. And taking my cuticle scissors again, I just turned around so you can see what I'm doing on this side as well. It's gonna take and just so my brows are trimmed. I'm just taking a clean spoolie and kind of working the brow glue that I put in out of my brows because I want to put another product on top, which is the Anastasia brow freeze, my favorite. So I'm just gonna take the spoolie, I'm gonna bend it just so I can get in my little pot, scrape off the excess, and then just go in and brush those babies up. And as you can see, because I trimmed the brow on the end, it gave it this really nice shape on the tail. Also, because we're talking about a full fat laminated brow, I'm brushing these up to the heavens. Then another thing I like to do, I'll take the end of the spoolie and then I'll just place the brows down. The thing I have to remember always, every day of my life, is that they're sisters, not twins. It's so hard, especially when one cooperates and the other one doesn't. Again, brushing them up, really getting in there, getting every single hair, and then taking the spoolie, the other end of it, placing it down. You can also use a finger and let them dry. In the meantime, I'm going to prep my skin for foundation. So I want to go in with a really delicious hydrating moisturizer. And the one that I've been really loving lately is the Alpyn Beauty Melt Moisturizer. It's really hydrating, but it's also very, very light. Sinks into the skin really quickly, and my favorite part is that it smells like a brambleberry field. It's just gorgeous. Just gonna moisturize, work around the brows while they're still drying. Up the neck. I like doing this because it gives my skin just a little bit more time to soak in the moisturizer before I do my face. Next, I'm going to go in with some eye cream from Naturium. Just while we're waiting for the brows to dry, I like to maximize my time as much as possible. Just tapping. Again, avoiding the brows, just under the eye, prep that skin for any concealer. And to help create that feathered sort of full fat brow look, I'm gonna go in with a brow pen. This is the NYX Lift and Snatch in Ash Brown, which is pretty universal for many people. I always recommend it. And I just love it because it's about $11 at the drugstore and it works just as well as those really expensive brow pens. Or prove me wrong, send them to me and I'll try them. You can see some of my hairs have kind of fallen down. That's okay. We're just gonna start drawing in. And this takes practice, really. It took me a long time to perfect, and I still haven't perfected it. Just short strokes, following direction that you want. And you can see I have a little bald spot right there. I'm just gonna fill that in. Little strokes. And then because I have a lot of space between my two brows, I tend to bring in the pen and just sort of fake hair there as well. It also helps if you have a mirror farther away from you. So you can go from looking at the small mirror that's up close and then a mirror that's far away, just to give you an idea of how the brows will look to everyone else. I'll even extend the brow hairs up just to make the brow a little bit fatter. Last step, it's my secret weapon. It's not really a secret because I've told you all about it before. Setting spray right on the brows. All right, the next trend I want to talk about is probably my favorite. Has to do with skin, mainly cloud skin. Now, cloud skin is the idea of sort of a semi-matte, soft-focused, hazy, lit from within kind of look. It's very natural, very skin-like, but not super dewy and not super matte, sort of in between. It's very similar along the lines of what I do for my red carpet clients who are being photographed, and a lot of what I do actually for the makeup that I do when I'm on camera. Now, cloud skin for someone like me who's normal to dry is pretty easy to achieve. But if you're more on the oily side, I would recommend a primer or something underneath to kind of give you that barrier between your skin and the makeup. This is the Tom Ford Traceless Soft Matte Primer. This is one of the most beautiful primers I have ever used, and it's because it gives you that really soft focus, gorgeous, like airbrushed kind of look, but in real life. Definitely worth the money. Another thing I will recommend is the Unseen sunscreen. I know I have just a tiny one here. It's my travel one. I can't seem to find my other one. But this has silicone in it, so it's definitely going to give you that blurring effect while also protecting your face at the same time, which is kind of a win-win in my opinion. But you definitely want to think about getting something that's going to maybe create a barrier between your skin and the makeup if you are more on the oily side. So something you want to think about when you're trying to achieve cloud skin is the formula of your foundation. You don't want to do anything too dewy and you don't want to do anything too matte. By all means, I'm not telling you to go out and get a brand new foundation because you might already have something in your arsenal that you can use. For example, I have the Nars Soft Matte Complete Foundation, which is a very matte foundation. Still beautiful, but not quite what we're looking for. But if I mix it with the light reflecting foundation, it's going to give me pretty much exactly what I want, depending on what kind of ratio I use. Again, think about mixing your textures. If you have something that's really dewy with something that's a little more matte, you can bring them together to create that satiny, delicious cloud skin. For me, I'm lucky enough to have the Eldridge foundation, which is exactly what I'm looking for as far as coverage and finish for the cloud skin that we're trying to achieve. I'm just gonna take a pump on the back of my hand. Actually, let's do a pump and a half right here on the back of my hand. And because we're talking about blurred skin, soft focus, lit from within, I'm gonna use a synthetic brush and I'm gonna buff it into the skin. Quick tip, if you want your foundation to go on even more seamlessly, take your synthetic brush and some setting spray and spray the brush, knock it off a few times, and then go in with your product. Starting in the center of my face, working my way out, and tapping and buffing. I talked about this foundation in my favorites video that I posted a few weeks ago, and I still love it just as much. It's just so beautiful, and it really achieves that gorgeous, natural, soft focus skin that just honestly, I know it's on trend for fall, but it should just be on trend all the time because it's timeless, truly. Grab a little bit more, just half a pump, hit my forehead, and again, just buffing softly. And because my skin is prepped really well and it's ready for that foundation, everything is just going on really, really seamlessly. And don't forget down the neck. Now before concealer, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of loose powder. This is Pat McGrath, and I'm just gonna set my face very lightly. I'm just gonna take a brush, cloud, just set all over, very lightly, even over the eyes. For concealer, I have the MAC concealer in these little palettes. I just put some on the back of my hand, going in with a fluffy brush, and then just using sort of the same technique of buffing the concealer in. The cream sort of adheres to the bristles and then allows me to be able to sort of buff the product in very lightly and sort of keep with that airbrushed, soft focus cloud skin that we're looking for. And it allows me to blend it seamlessly down into the foundation. And then just hitting any spots that I think need a little bit more coverage, always around the nose for me in particular. Now I'm going back in with the loose powder with a powder puff. I'm gonna take it and then just lightly tap. Setting the face, and again, creating that soft, matte cloud skin. We could keep the skin like this because it's so beautiful and natural, but I'm just gonna do a little bit of sculpting with the Hourglass Ambient Light palette. It's gonna take the brush, the powder brush that I used, kind of just swipe in all three, and then just do a little bit of shaping. Not too much where it's distracting or it takes away from the skin. I like to go in with the darkest and just hit the cheekbone, across the nose. So the final trend we're going to talk about today is the 90s nude lip. Now there are basically two sides of the argument. You have people who say, no. The 90s nude was warm browns like Coffee Bean from Revlon and Toast of New York and all those like really warmish kind of browns, which I totally wore when I was growing up in the 90s. I was obsessed, but I could never, ever find something that was a true brown unless I actually used a brown eyeliner pencil. And then I would use concealer on top of it just because I would jerry-rig the kind of nude that I always wanted, which is more of on the other side of the argument, which is the cool nude. That's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna start with a little bit of concealer and I'm just gonna cover my lips. Don't panic. Just gonna take it on the lips. I know, just wanna cancel out any natural pink or color that I have on my lips. And next back in with the powder puff with a little bit of powder. I'm just gonna set the concealer and then we're gonna go in with Endless Cacao from Makeup Forever. This is a perfect cool toned brown liner. It's great as an eyeliner. It's even better as a lip liner. And then I'm just gonna take my finger and blend out that liner. So we're creating a base for our nude lipstick to stick to. And then we're gonna top it with my absolute favorite matte nude lipstick ever, Laura and Dana from Melt Cosmetics. I hope you can hear me. It's Melt Nude, N-O-O-D, my favorite nude ever. I always come back to it. If you're looking for that really pale nude, this is your best bet. And it just mixes really well with a lot of different liners, like this one. I know it's not for everybody, but I love it. It definitely brings me back to a time and a place. back when I used to use concealer as lipstick with brown eyeliner because I couldn't find anything at the drugstore that was even comparable to this. That concludes my favorites that I picked of some of the fall makeup 2023 trends. Comment down below, let me know which one you all liked or not. You know, I know a grayish nude lip is not for everybody, but I love it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the support. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.